So if anybody objects to that, then let me know. So Show and Tell 24, the last one for the year. Whether we do another one in December will depend a little bit on when people are around in 3 weeks' time, but likely that we will do the next one in January at some point. A little bit of the reasoning behind Show and Tells and what it is that they actually do, or they allow us to do, is to give you information about what we're doing. So what we're thinking about, what we're actually doing, what's coming next, a way of us getting questions and feedback. And we want to do that because we want to do this in an open and transparent way. Along with that, we're developing these things with principles in mind of user-centered design. It means that we talk to our residents, we talk to our customers, we talk to the people that are most likely to interact with us. We measure, we learn and share, we test, we build, we iterate, and we go around that circle many times. Some of the things that we'll talk about later will have been through many iterations of testing in order to arrive at the right solution. Overall, what's our vision? Our vision for the website and our vision for the team delivering it. We will give our residents more free time by making everything they do with the council faster and easier. So we've talked about some of the things that we've done this year, how we're creating content guidelines for services, trying to clarify that roadmap, and that we'll talk a little bit more about the roadmap later on. That roadmap's really key for us now as we start to roll into a new phase of the website delivery. We've gone through the point of delivering that initial MVP for Unitary and then delivering more on top of that. We're now really into a place where we need to be thinking how we really aggressively start to migrate and rationalise the content that we've had on previous district websites into the new buckinghamshire.gov.uk website. That will then give us the ability to turn off that legacy website by March 22, which is our overall ambition, and one which is driven by the old domain names effectively disappearing. So what have we done in the last 3 weeks? I'll talk a little bit about the roadmap. I'm then going to hand over to Mike to talk a little bit about the Family Information Service work that we've been doing. And that work's been ongoing for several months. And it's a large piece of work, as Mike will identify, and he'll show you some of the things that we've done as well. Talk a little bit about community boards and the Find My Councillor functionality. This is postcode-based lookups and searches, which Sarah is going to talk to us about, based on some of the work that we did a little bit earlier for Am I in Local Lockdown? Most of you will have obviously heard the news today about Tier 3, so local lockdowns are sort of a thing in the past now, so national lockdowns and then tiered lockdowns for the whole of Buckinghamshire have become the norm. But that functionality that we delivered and developed is really key and crucial for us for delivering some other services as well. So first up, I'm going to talk about the roadmap. So in order for us to migrate all the content from one platform to another, we need to have an order in which we do this. And we've set out relatively clear criteria about how we do it. We've looked at things like what's the most popular content. So here we've got a list of site visits and page visits against the various different pages. We then look at, well, are our pages useful? And this is a relatively broad category of categorization, because actually all it does is take data from the is this page useful button at the bottom of the page. We know that people like our news, for example, they find it useful. We know also that search has a pretty terrible reputation, if you like. People generally don't like engaging with search. They don't find what they want necessarily. So we've done some specific work about that, which I'll talk about later as well. We then have, where do people go, or where do people come from before going to contact us? So what drives that activity to go to the contact us form to either get a telephone number or generate an email into us? So what are the things that are really mean that they drop out of a journey online and then move to another channel to enable them to try and fulfill it? This gives us a set of analytics. So primarily from the website, we can look at these in terms of customer journeys or user journeys through the website to enable us to come to some kind of level of prioritization. So we then overlay popular pages versus usefulness versus its propensity to get people to contact us. We then get to a point where actually, in theory, you have a prioritization process. So not everything will score in Group A for everything, but some things will. So things like bin collections for recycling and waste, that scores really highly on a number of different criteria. So we know that it's something that if you apply just that level of prioritization, you would go out really quickly, and it's something that we're currently looking at. So that gives you that kind of perfect Venn diagram of the stuff in the middle is the stuff that you really go for. It's not quite as simple as that because we've got other things that we need to overlay on that. And one of the major things that we need to overlay is that tight alignment to the Better Buckinghamshire programme. So as services go through their service review process, we should be supporting them at looking at their content online, looking at what their digital offering is, and then being able to see whether we can support them with that and align it with the other work that we're doing in that prioritization piece. So that roadmap is a kind of ongoing progress. It's a living document. It will flex and move. It will change. Obviously, to try and make it as efficient as possible, we'll try and keep it as static as possible. In terms of how we assure it, the Service Improvement Board, which many of you will know about, will have a final sign-off on the approach and methodology early in January, and they will assure effectively the money that I spend against the website contract, against the migration and rationalisation of the content that we've got to do over the next 18 months or so. So that's a little bit about our roadmap. I'm going to pass over to Mike now, if I can make the technology work, and ask him to talk about the Family Information Service.
Okay, thank you very much, Pete. I'm going to try and share my screen. Hopefully that's worked. Can someone confirm they're seeing the right thing, please?
I am.
Yep.
Fantastic. What I'm showing you here isn't a screenshot or part of the presentation. It's actually the live site. Just I thought we've been speaking about this for a long time, and it would be really good for people to see the progress that we've made. We've worked together to develop a clean and easy to navigate interface. We've been working with the FIS team to develop a number of different templates, including a homepage template, section pages, and we've got 2 different styles of content pages. And the FIS team have when I say just, I mean literally over the last couple of days really, started to put this site together and to build it. There's a huge amount of work that's been going on in the background. As Pete said earlier, this is a massive project because there's so much information, and this website covers a lot of different areas, and it's also an extremely important website which covers a lot of information that we have to produce by law. As you can see, this is the home page, and I can emphasize that this is just being built. This is not necessarily how it will look in its final version. So this is just to show you really how it can look, and to click through, we have different styles of pages. And this is an example of a childcare and early years page. As you can see, the whole idea that we wanted to do is to make it really clean, to go straight to the information that you want, and to make it easy to find information for people. There's also this is another type of template, which, as you can see, is in place. We're not really going to have pictures of trees everywhere when it's finally built, but this is very much showing that it's a work in progress and where we are at the moment. And it's fantastic to see this site looking so good, I must say. Aside from the way that the site itself actually looks, which is obviously very important, but the main focus from the user point of view is the content. And that's why they go to the website in the first place. And we've been very busily rewriting the content across the site to make sure that it's clear and concise, and that it gives the information that people need to know. Our focus has been very much on customer need. What does that mean? It really means thinking about why people would be on the website. What are they looking for? Why have they gone there in the first place? And we've been taking a research-based approach, and we've been asking users what they think, but this really isn't the end of the journey. Even after the site has been populated and is launched, we'll be doing more work with users in the future to make sure that we've got it right, and to continually try to improve the content. And this is something that the Family Information Service team have been continually doing and will carry on doing, and they know what they're doing with that very much. To develop this content, we've been working very closely with content experts from services using a process known as pair writing. Really, we can provide the expertise in knowing how to write for websites, but it's the experts in the services that know the subjects, and they've been helping us to make sure that the information on the pages is the correct information and up-to-date information and what the users need to know, because they know their customers. That's pretty much it from me. Shall I hand back to Pete?
Thank you very much, Mike. Yeah, so I think I can probably reshare my desktop. Some really great work being done in Family Information Service. It was one of the first things that I came into when I came into role 11 weeks ago now. So it seems like a lifetime, but it's 11 weeks ago. It was one of the first things that I came into, and there's been a huge amount of work done, both by our team, by the Family Information Service team, and by the agency working on it. So really positive work and really good signs of stuff to come. We talked last time at the last show and tell a little bit about search and about its the fact that it was really not very good. And I just wanted to give a very brief update to talk about a little bit about the things that we've deployed, which we talked about last time, and the impact that has had and what we've got going for the future. So obviously search for us is a really important page on the website. It shows a really poor customer experience at the moment. I think when we last talked about it, we had an approval rating of about 7%, which is pretty poor. I can't remember what the next one up was, but it was consistently a lot more than 7%. So we released a new version that delivers a better search experience. So we have the ability to put things like synonyms into it. We have the ability to do some more kind of, it's a process called Elasticsearch, which gives us a little bit more kind of intelligence around the search rather than just looking for individual words. Early indications are that whilst it's up by about 30%. That's still not fantastic because we've gone up from 7% to 10%. So we're still looking at what we're going to do in the future, but it's really too early to tell because the number of actual responsive we've had across that are relatively small. We're looking at a number of things at the moment, and some of that is around the impact of potentially removing news results from the search pages. At the moment, quite often when people come to the site, they find an old news item because it has some relevance to the search that they put in, but it may be something that is actually 6-9 months old, but has lots of the right keywords into it. So we're looking at whether we either time limit search results on the news site, or whether we remove them altogether, or whether we present it in a different way that effectively says these are your search results that are really important to you, that talked about what the council does and the services it provides, and then here's the news results as well. So that's to come. That will be done hopefully early in the new year, once we get a little bit more data around how people are using it and whether actually that we're getting a lot more value from our search at the moment. Now going to talk about something else, which I'm going to pass over to Sarah for. I'm still going to drive, but Sarah, if you want to let me know when you want me to move on to the next slide, I'll press the button.
Sure, thank you, Pete. Yeah, let's go. So community boards. So on this one, the idea was to revisit a little bit the way we actually promote the community board. So for that, what I've been doing is a discovery. So a discovery is essentially about understanding a problem, understanding how this problem might be linked to other subjects, and how they actually influence each other, and how what I'm working on actually fits in or not actually with the rest. And it's about gathering evidence, and then, yes, it's essentially about understanding what are the potential pain points and if there is anything we can actually do to improve the user experience. So if you move to the next slide, please. So on this one, so the pain points, there are 2 pain points. So the first one is the findability. So if you are on the homepage, you will need to go under the community and safety to then enter into the category page. And then unfortunately, you need to actually scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, and almost by the bottom, you will find a link to the community boards. So it's not really well presented, which is a bit of a shame at the moment. And then the second thing is very much about the way we actually design the page, and more specifically, the way someone can look for his local community board. So on the right-hand side, and I'm sorry, it's really small because it's a long page, but what we can see is basically full text, which is basically informing the general public about what is a community board, so what to expect from it, how can we actually take part into it, and what it is about, essentially. So it's very much about informing. And then at the bottom of the page, we can see plenty of bullet points, and those are links to community boards. So the problem we're having with that is that first, the page does two things. So first, it does inform, but also it does give an access to the community board. It's not that bad, obviously, but it's becoming more challenging when we think about searching for your community board. So if you know which one is yours, obviously you will find it within the list, hopefully. But if you don't know which one is your community board, then it's very difficult, it's very challenging. The other thing as well is, as the page is relatively long, it's difficult to expect users to actually scroll down to actually find those community boards. So based on those pain points, we decided to actually review it and see how we could actually improve the user experience. If you can move to the next slide, please. So what we decided to do was to split this page into two pages. So one which is essentially doing one job only, which is about informing about what is a community board. And then the second one, which is about searching your community board. So on the right-hand side, what we decided to do is using the work we have done already on the postcode checker. So if you don't know which one is yours and how to actually find it, we would expect that you know your postcode. So you enter your postcode, click on find, and then we tell you, okay, your community board is X, whatever it is, and then we just invite the user very nicely to go and get information on his community board. Alternatively, for those who actually know, we decided to also keep the list, keeping it very simple. So some users can just simply go here and then click directly on the community board page. If we can go to the next page, please. Yeah, so this is it for community board. Now we'll be talking about Find My Councillor. Next slide, please. So Find My Councillor is a tricky one. So it's very similar. So it's a discovery project as well. On this one, so first is the first pain point we have is the navigation. So it's not very easy to find this Find Councillor page. It's about 3 layers from the home page before reaching this page. So it's not very obvious to actually find. So we do have some, this is one of the first pain points, I would say. The second pain point is basically the interaction within the page. So when we look at Find Councillor at the top, underneath, it says, please see the list of councillors showing which ward they represent. And this is actually a PDF, so which is not really user-friendly, and people tend to do not always open it. So it's not the best user experience we could offer. The second one is the interactive map. So on this one, I do question the quality of the interactive map. It's a little bit difficult to use. And then finally, in terms of searching features, so the first one is by name. So it's great if you know the name of your councillor, but if you don't, it's not going to help you. Second one is by political party. So it can give you an indication if you want to target a certain political party, but it's not going to give you the name of your councillor. And then the last one is or by part of their name. So once again, it's quite difficult if you really don't know who is your councillor. So what we decided to do is to revisit this page. So it's a work in progress at the moment. And once again, just to give you a hint about what we have in mind, is basically considering two types of research. So, sorry. The first one is if you don't know who is your counselor, we would like to offer the ability to the user to look per postcode. And then on this one, it's a bit tricky as well, because some people sometimes live at the border of a ward. So we need to consider also those exceptions. So we might have to enable the user to look also per specific address. So this will be an exception. So we need to bring some thought about it. We would love to also let the user looking for the information by word, if possible. And then the second things we would love to do is, if the user knows who or what he's actually looking for and have a very targeted idea in his mind, we would love to indeed let the user look per name, so he can identify the name of his counselor within the list, or by political party. So the challenges we have, so this piece of work is not really straightforward. There are a few challenges. So the first one is our dependence on Modern Gov, which is a system on which all the data is actually being stored. So we will depend on that. Whatever we do, we'll have to follow it. The second one is obviously legal requirements. We have to be really careful about what we do and how we actually present it. Borders, so as I was saying, it's not really straightforward. There are some exceptions, so we need to consider it as well. And then, well, COVID-19. I know it's a funny challenge, but it is. There were no election last year in May. So what we are doing and what we are planning to do is revisiting the design now, but most probably we will actually wait for the next election in May to actually deploy, and hopefully we'll have election in May, to then deploy the new design. So this is it for Find My Counselor, and I think I'll pass over to Pete. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. It's always quite interesting when you work with user researchers and people like that, when they see an experience that really upsets them. Because they're kind of normally they're very positive, enthusiastic people, and they're all really all about the user experience and things like that. But when they see something that is really not very good, and a lot of the reasons why it's not very good at the moment for us is because of the strange position we find ourselves in with Unitary, where we have some wards with up to 12 councillors, and some councillors who represent multiple wards. So it will be a lot easier, as Sarah has said, once we go past the next set of elections when we have 3 councillors per ward. But yes, I could see Sarah's level of surprise, perhaps, at what we have to do at the moment to actually find our councillors going up as we went through the user journey. Anyway, so up next, next steps for us, the sort of things that we're currently doing. We're obviously publish our roadmap at the moment. This is a very high level roadmap. Our actual kind of Trello board that we use internally for the team is very much bigger than this and breaks down things into individual tasks. But these are generally the generic buckets that we're working within. It's obviously publicly available. You can click on the link, you can go and see it, make comments and stuff like that. So next steps for us are around confirming the design for the community boards page. So we've been doing some work with the internal product owner who's keen to push this forward as quickly as we can, and designing that page for Find My Counsellor. As Sarah says, probably not deploying that until after May, but at least then we have a good customer experience when we come to do it. Priorities for me, particularly over the next kind of month to 6 weeks, are fully fleshing out that roadmap. I need to have a digital roadmap and a digital work program to give into the Service Improvement Board in early January, which will lead to things like content prioritization, alignment to the Better Buckinghamshire programme, things like that. With that, thank you very much. If anybody's got any questions, please either drop them in the chat or shout out. We have our next show and tell in January, so that should be us. We're not sure when in January yet. We'll come back to you with a date, and you'll probably see an invite come out from me as well, because it's probably time to get rid of Ben's invites. But if anybody has any questions, drop them in the chat. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Nope, I think that's everybody. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. 3 minutes back, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.